This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
It always makes the hair on my neck stand because I'm afraid at some point, we could be on the chopping block.
Athletic trainers treat over 400 high school student athletes every year. Unfortunately, that may not be for long. Why are some local school districts being forced to consider cutting the very people who keep kids safe on the field? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Conan. Welcome to ABC7 at 7. We'll have more on possible school budget cuts in a moment, but right now our top 7 stories at 7, and we begin with what was a violent weekend on the Suncoast. 5 murders and still no suspects in custody. Police are still searching for this man, believed to have robbed the Zoda Hotel Friday before shooting and killing the front desk clerk and the security guard. Police believe others could be involved. In Manatee County Saturday, a double homicide after what deputies describe as a shootout in the Bayshore Gardens neighborhood. The sheriff's office believes it was a targeted attack. The Manatee County Sheriff's Office is still looking for 3 to 4 suspects in that case. Hours later, another shooting victim was found in Sarasota. Police are investigating whether it could be related. The Manatee County Sheriff's Office hopes the public may have information.
Don't ever hesitate to let us know, because we may be able to really work with that information to make an arrest and solve a case.
On Longboat Key, police just increased the reward from $38,000 to $50,000 for information related to the shooting at the resort. A Venice man is facing even more charges for possession of child pornography. Sarasota deputies charging 48-year-old Mario Guerrero with 16 additional counts of child porn possession. After his arrest in late June, detectives found 16 more videos containing child porn on Guerrero's computers. In June, he was charged with 3 counts. He is now being held on $400,000 bond. A Venice daycare worker is being charged with child abuse after investigators say she slapped a 9-month-old baby. Detectives began their investigation in April after allegations Cheryl Bolton slapped an infant at the Child Development Center at the Christ United Methodist Church. The Sarasota County Sheriff's Office says photos taken of the infant's injuries show red marks on his face consistent with being struck by an open hand. Deputies say Bolton admitted to being frustrated while changing the baby's diaper. The Englewood woman is charged with aggravated child abuse. At least 2 people are in custody after shots were fired at a sheriff's deputy near Orlando. The incident happened early this morning in Pine Hills. Authorities say an Orange County sheriff's deputy was following a suspicious vehicle when someone in the vehicle opened fire. Bullets struck the deputy's truck as well as a house. No one was injured. Police are still on the lookout for 2 suspects. A 7th home is now being condemned because of that massive sinkhole in Pasco County. This follows 2 on Sunday, 2 on Friday, and 2 other homes destroyed when the sinkhole opened last month. It now stretches about 260 feet at its widest point. Contractors have been working to clean debris from the sinkhole, but work is temporarily halted after large chunks of the edge crumbled inward. In Manatee County, businesses along the Tourist Center Drive are being urged to boil their water as a precaution. The county is issuing a boil water notice for users from Coopers Creek Boulevard to the Home Depot. Once water services are restored, all water used for drinking or cooking should be boiled for the next 24 to 48 hours. This story is for Bob. For the first time in almost 30 years, Florida's wildlife officials are considering letting anglers reel in a limited number of Goliath grouper. The massive fish can reach 8 feet long, weigh up to 800 pounds. Goliath grouper are edible but have not been legally harvested since 1990 because of overfishing. Since that time, the population has recovered. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission wants to make sure the population of the Goliath grouper isn't impacted if fish are allowed to be reeled in.
Our main goal in looking at a limited harvest would be, in any limited harvest, would be to have something that would not impact the dive community and would not impact the Goliath grouper population as a whole.
Workshops are being held across the state between now and October to get public input on fishing Goliath grouper. And you can find more information on the FWC website. Bob, what do you think of that?
Well, it was inevitable. I've been going offshore over the years, and what happens is you fish for the grouper, you're bringing it up, and all of a sudden the line just stops and starts moving slowly away as a result of the Goliath grouper possibly getting a juvenile. And so when you bring the juvenile up, you have to let it go. But if they are eating all the juvenile fish as you bring them up, that's not a good thing. And that's the reason why they're going to put that into effect, I think, as a result of them eating too much of the juvenile fish that they're trying to save and spare. Well, anyway, here's what's happened. The rainfall is heavy near Parrish and just north of I-275. That was a line that moved through and guess what? Cooled us down some 10 to 15 degrees today. Now, another line is developing down south near Venice, but this activity continues to make its way to the northwest along the sea breeze front and the collision thereof. Just a little bit of rain now near Terracea. It's come to an end into Bradenton, but this is that other area that has developed just in the last half hour. Nokomis, Venice getting the second round of showers and storms, a little closer to the coast this time, and just a few lightning strikes indicating that this storm is developing. Those lightning strikes were within the last 5 minutes near Venice East, Center Road, and Jacaranda Boulevard. So if you started to resume your outdoor activities, be careful. There's another line heading toward Sarasota and possibly Siesta Key. Heat index now, it was at 102 just about 2 hours ago. It's down to 83, thankfully, because of the rain. And the winds are out of the west now at 3, so that sea breeze has broken down. The next line will get a little closer to the coast. And down to the south of Cuba, entering in toward the Yucatan Peninsula, you can see the rotation there. That is Franklin. Franklin is the next storm name, and it's sixth name storm of the season. It's moving to the northwest at 13, and looks like it's going to make landfall sometime early Tuesday morning in the Yucatan Peninsula. 87 now in Orlando, the hot spot Miami, 89 degrees, and temperatures have cooled here along the coast anyway. It's down to 79, and downtown Sarasota, the Gulf water temperature, a very steamy 91 degrees. Still hot, though, in inland counties like Highlands, temperatures in the low 90s there. So we're starting to slowly get back into that afternoon pattern, and it looks like it'll be here through the rest of this week. We'll talk about that, and also another little area in the tropics coming up in a few minutes.
I put down new sod this weekend. I need the rain, Bob.
We're gonna do a rain dance for you.
Okay, thanks a lot. And still to come, sports and injuries go hand in hand. So why are some schools thinking about taking away athletic trainers at high school sporting events? We'll dive into that topic more after the break.
Attention! Royal Seas Cruises has just announced their deal of the day, a $99 Caribbean cruise for 2 people. This amazing cruise deal to the Bahamas is only available to the first 500 callers who register in your area today. So get ready to write down this number and act fast. We know that the best type of traveler is a repeat guest, so we're offering this $99 Caribbean cruise to prove it. That's $99 per couple, including your stateroom, all your delicious meals, full spa, live entertainment, 3 kids clubs, and more. Come see why we were voted one of the top 10 best overall cruises by Cruise Critic. We're so sure you'll enjoy yourself and become a repeat customer that you're getting this deal of the day for the unbelievable low price of just $99 per couple. But you've got to act fast. Pick up the phone and be one of the first 500 callers to take the Caribbean cruise of a lifetime for just $99 per couple. Call right now or log on to royalcruisenow.com.
Call 800-906-0489.
The wait is finally over, and on August 26th, you will be one of the first. Race into the future by conquering the Fort Hamer Bridge. At the Fort Hamer Bridge Run, it doesn't matter if you run or walk, because every step you take, you will be part of history. The Fort Hamer Bridge Run, coming Saturday, August 26th. Register today at forthamerbridgerun.com.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish!
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
The official Suncoast Hurricane Guide from ABC7. Download yours today.
The new controversial education budget Governor Rick Scott signed into law is forcing a lot of school districts to make some tough decisions. Some counties in our area may be eliminating athletic trainers at high school games. Adam Cellini joins us with growing concern about that. Adam.
Yeah, Alan, the Athletic Trainer Association of Florida says just a third of Florida high schools have full-time athletic trainers. And for now, that does include those here on the Suncoast.
Kevin Eichhorn has been on the sidelines of Booker High School athletics for 15 years.
I'll see 15 to 20 kids a day.
Injury assessment, physical therapy, and occasionally hydration, all falling on the shoulders of one man players affectionately call Trainer Kev.
I get, responses all the time. What do you do for a living? I'm an athletic trainer. Oh, well, who do you train? What gym do you work at? No, I'm not a personal trainer. I am a highly qualified, college-educated, master's degree sports medicine professional.
Eichhorn oversees the athletic trainers at all Sarasota County high schools for Agility Physical Therapy, a third-party provider under contract with the district. They treat an average of 430 student-athlete injuries every year in our schools, but earn more skepticism than praise.
We're constantly defending ourselves. I feel like we constantly defend what an athletic trainer is, what an athletic trainer does.
He's not alone. Pasco County schools nearly started the year without trainers after Florida Hospital canceled its contract to finance the service. And Hillsborough County could be in a similar boat after their provider, the University of South Florida Sports Medicine Institute, was denied $2.4 million in state funding.
It always makes the hair on my neck stand because I'm afraid at some point, we could be on the chopping block.
Putting the squeeze on our local education dollars is this year's new education law, which among other things will require districts share capital dollars with charter schools. Manatee County loses $4.4 million in year one, and in Sarasota County it's more than double at $9.3 million.
This is the worst bill I've ever seen because it's all encompassing. It hits our operating budget, it hits our capital budget. I mean, it just hits everything.
Sarasota School Board Chair Caroline Zucker and her colleagues don't know how the other parts of the bill, like required recess, may also impact finances. But she's against moving operating dollars that pay for trainers to cover capital projects.
You can't begin to erode the operating budget. You cannot.
Such confidence isn't so easy for Manatee County, who is now saving precious dollars by bringing trainers on as district employees instead of contracting with an outside vendor.
It's something that several other districts across the state have gone to because of the better control over it and then, financial accountability as well.
District Athletic Director Jason Montgomery assures parents that it doesn't mean trainers are any less important.
To me, it's a liability issue and it's a safety issue for your kids, because you can deal in several of our sports with catastrophic injuries, and if you don't have somebody there trained to take care of it, you're waiting on a 911 call.
School Board Chair Charlie Kennedy is faithful the district's 5-year effort to improve their finances will mean its 6 high schools can keep their trainers for now.
You never know what the problems are that are going to pop up, but you can always plan for being ready for those problems when they do pop up, and this athletic training issue potentially could be one. We'll see.
And if it feels like a choice between teachers and trainers, Eichhorn hopes leaders consider all the angles.
Don't look at it as just the bottom line. Look at it as your risk assessment. What is the risk of not having an athletic trainer there?
And Alan, Sarasota County, currently spends $312,000 every year for its trainers, and Manatee County is now spending around $240,000 every year for their 6 high schools.
Adam, thank you. And coming up, a fantastic panel, including the chairman of Manatee County's Board of Education and the president of the Athletic Trainers Association of Florida, when we tackle the trapezoid.
If you're only hungry for a slice of apple pie, why buy the whole pie? And you certainly wouldn't want to pay for an all-you-can-eat buffet. So if you don't use your cell phone that much, why get charged for a plan that's too big, or even an unlimited plan? Luckily, there's still a wireless company that shares your values. Welcome to Consumer Cellular. Our average customer pays about $25 a month for everything they need. Many pay even less, as plans start at just $10 a month. You'll get a straightforward bill that's easy to understand, with no surprises, and all the attention you deserve from our friendly customer service team. No wonder Consumer Cellular has received J.D. Power Awards for highest customer service. Plus, if you're an AARP member, you'll receive special discounts. It's easy to switch. You can even keep your phone and your number. So stop paying for more than you need and start your 30-day risk-free trial today. Call 800-457-2317, go online, or visit a Target store today.
My name is Stephen Jaffe. The law firm's name is Farmer Jaffe. One of the beautiful things about Julius is he's always smiling, and it becomes infectious. The fact that Julius has a disability has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of work that he's done. Just a great person you want on your staff.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator. There was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs. Stop the crimes.
For the last 18 years, Samantha's Friends has been assisting people along the Suncoast who have been challenged by catastrophic illnesses or affected by autism obtain a service canine. We need your help. Please show your support by attending our annual Celebrity Gala brunch and fundraiser. Call Sammy Lee at 941-448-8558 for more information.
Welcome back. Many high school students play sports throughout high school, and like all sports, injuries are always a risk. Many local schools have athletic trainers at sporting events to ensure the athletes are treated on the spot for sports injuries. But as Adam Cellini just reported, budget cuts are threatening that. Athletic trainers being on the sidelines that treat an average 430 student athletes each year. It would be losing trainers, jeopardize the safety of our student athletes, and does saving money outweigh the risk of students not receiving the treatment that they need? Joining us for more is ABC7's Adam Cellini, Charlie Kennedy, the chairman of the Manatee County School Board, and joining us by Skype is Eric Nason, the president of the Athletic Trainers Association of Florida. And Eric, let me start with you, because we reported that Hillsborough and Pasco County may be in this position right now. How many school districts across Florida are in similar positions?
Well, you know, recently we've mapped out Florida to find that there's 661 schools that have athletic training programs, and only 33.5% actually have full-time athletic trainers. So each county obviously has a separate budget line and certain financial responsibilities, and it's hard to say how many counties that it's going to affect. But anytime a budget line is focused on the athletic trainers, you're putting the risk and the health and the quality control around healthcare for our student athletes.
Can you explain that? I mean, I have a son who just graduated who played high school sports, and I know how important the trainers were there, but you know, you're not training kids to get stronger and so forth. This is, correct me if I'm wrong, you are almost the first responder should there be an injury at practice or during games. Absolutely. So first and foremost, athletic trainers, or as we refer to us as ATs, we're, as Kevin was saying in the earlier segment, we're not personal trainers, that we are college educated, board certified, and we are licensed in the state of Florida under the Department of Health to provide athletic training, sports medicine services. We deal with the everything from musculoskeletal injuries to the management and care of concussions to eating disorders to the psychological aspect of injury. And we do a lot of education, not only to the athletes, but to the coaching staff, to the parents, to make a continuum of healthcare knowledge and care on and off the field. Charlie, Adam just showed how much the county now has to basically separate off for charter schools as part of the new state budget. So something's got to be cut somewhere. What are you doing?
Well, in Manatee County, we're fortunate. We're not in the same boat as some of the other surrounding counties because we have, we actually hired with a third-party outsider. We're now bringing athletic trainers in-house, so we're going to save some money that way. So, you know, we're not in the situation of Hillsborough where they were kind of getting their athletic trainers, you know, basically as, you know, as, I don't want to say student teachers, but student athletic trainers. So we're not in quite the bind that they are, but as has been mentioned multiple times, the priority here is student safety. So, Adam, explain this for a moment. Hillsborough County, for instance, were getting their athletic trainers from USF, but it was USF's
part of the budget that was being cut.
Yeah, the USF specific program, I think their Sports Medicine Institute lost $2.4 million in state funding. And it was vetoed in the past session. And then the questions started flying around. You know, what's going to be the ripple effect of that? Will it be the high schools? And a lot of people continue to be uncertain about that. I don't know the details of their contract with the school district, and everybody has a different contract. You know, Sarasota County, I think, has the option to sort of reevaluate every year. Other counties sign on for 3 years. It just kind of, it's different for everyone. But the questions were absolutely flying around there because, you know, the first thought was that maybe the high schools would lose that resource.
And in that case, Charlie, Hillsborough County's schools are having other financial issues. You have a budget for athletic training, but you know, who do you contract with, and is that line item stable?
That line item is, well, in the case of Manatee County, it's, I don't know if I would call it stable. It's as Adam mentioned, it changes every year. That contract can come up for renewal every year. And historically, it has been an outside third party. The concern that I've heard from our athletic trainers, I'm a former teacher and coach, so when this change was taking place, I heard from a couple of trainers in our county, and their concern is being spread too thin, because not only are we kind of changing the way we provide the service, it's the same people, it's the same trainers, but are they going to get spread across schools?
Let's pause our conversation right there, and we'll pick up on that point when we come back. We're just going to get a check on our weather from Bob Harrigan, so stay with us.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to Mesobook.com.
Jacuzzi is proud to present our first ever safe bathing event. The Jacuzzi walk-in tub allows you or a loved one to take a safe and relaxing bath. Never climb in and out of a regular bathtub again. Our walk-in tub offers a low step-in threshold, fast drain technology, soothing hydrotherapy, and even a shower handle. Regain bathing independence with a Jacuzzi walk-in tub and enjoy spending more time with loved ones. Why wait any longer? During our safe bathing event, save $750 on a new walk-in tub. Receive $250 in safety upgrades and a $100 Visa gift card. But if you call right now during this program, we'll double the savings to $1,500, double the safety upgrades to $500, and double it to a $200 Visa gift card with your walk-in tub purchase. Going back to where it all began in 1956, Jacuzzi Incorporated was founded and the Whirlpool bathing category was born. Jacuzzi's patented Hydra massage jets provide an unmatched bathing experience. Jacuzzi is proud to present our first ever safe bathing event. Never climb in and out of a regular bathtub again. Our walk-in tub offers a low step-in threshold, fast drain technology, soothing hydrotherapy, and even a shower handle. During our safe bathing event, save $750 on a new walk-in tub. Receive $250 in safety upgrades and a $100 Visa gift card. But if you call right now during this program, we'll double the savings to $1,500, double the safety upgrades to $500, and double it to a $200 Visa gift card with your walk-in tub purchase. A safe and relaxing bath is only a phone call away. Call right now to save double on a new walk-in tub. Call now.
Our conversation on the budget cuts schools are making and how that may impact student safety for athletes continues in a moment, right after we get a check on the forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. Round one is over. Round two starting to move through Venice right now with showers and storms developing. We have a tropical system down to our south right now, and the weather headlines read like this. Afternoon storms are back indeed, and they will be throughout most of this week. Heat index near 100. It was 103 today, just around 4 o'clock. And Tropical Storm Franklin staying to our south. So good news on that front. Right now, you can see those showers are not as widespread as they normally would be for this time of year, but that southeasterly wind flow caught the west coast sea breeze. We have one round go through, and now another round developing in Venice and to the southeast of Port Charlotte. It's a heavy rain, some occasional lightning strikes near Venice, Nakoma, spreading up toward Osprey now. This is all moving off to the north-northwest at around 10 miles an hour. You can see just in the last half hour generating some lightning strikes and areas on the beach there. Look out, Siesta Key. Looks like you're going to get another round of storms. The rainfall track anywhere from about 0.2 of an inch up to 1.5 inches right there just to the east of Venice, west of Northport. One green area in particular up to 2 inches of rainfall. Currently at the Sarasota-Brayton Airport, we have some light rain. The temperature at 80 degrees, that heat index has really cooled off just because of that first round. Winds are out of the north-northwest at 5. The pressure falling ever so slightly, but still high. The high today was 93 before the rain moved in, 97 the record in 1989, and 77 was the morning low. Temperatures statewide, 86 in Jacksonville, 1 degree warmer now in Orlando, 89 in Miami, a bit cooler in Key West where they've had some rain move through. And Franklin down in the Western Caribbean continues to look a little bit more organized just before it makes landfall right there in the Yucatan Peninsula. The top winds are at 60 miles an hour. It's moving to the northwest at a pretty good rate, so it won't be over land very long, and it looks like it's going to move on into the Yucatan Peninsula tonight, then eventually emerge tomorrow night late and could gain a good to Category 1 status before it makes landfall with winds up to near 80 miles an hour and then cause all sorts of headaches with flash flooding and mudslides into Mexico as it moves off to the west. So it's going to stay to our south right now. There are tropical storm warnings in effect for much of the Yucatan Peninsula. This area here, we've been watching last week. The Hurricane Center at one point gave it an 80% chance of developing, but now that's dropped to 20%. And that's a result of some dry air nearby. On top of that, an upper level low spinning just to the west of it, which is not favorable for development. It looks like it's going to track basically off to the west-northwest in time. Here we are right there. So at this point, it looks like even if it were to develop, it would stay to the east of our immediate area. Well, as far as forecast goes, showers continuing on again and off again. I mentioned that rain now in Venice and Osprey spreading up toward Sarasota here in the next hour. And then we will see them come back tomorrow afternoon and evening. Showers and storms will be a regular basis, I think, a regular pattern throughout the afternoon and evening right through most of the work week. Now, it may be a hit or miss, though. Not everyone's going to get the rainfall. I know Alan needs some rain for his new lawn, and I think he'll get a good chance for that later on this evening. Boston 71, 72 in the nation's capital right now, 74 in Chicago. So pretty cool weather has moved in over the Great Lakes and Northeast, all the way down to near Oklahoma now, 87 in Dallas and 105 in Phoenix. Now, the forecast for boaters looks to be like this. Southeast winds turn to the southwest at 10 knots. We'll have seas running 1 to 2 feet. And the water temperature hot, 91 degrees, about as warm as it gets. And the UV index will be an 11. Low tide upcoming, 8:39, and sunset will be at 8:14. The forecast tonight, evening showers and storms scattered about, 78 for your low. That's above average. And then tomorrow, look for those afternoon and evening thunderstorms mainly, partly cloudy, warm and humid. And the extended forecast is calling for anywhere from a 40 to 50% chance over the next 7 days, and that'll be mainly in the afternoon and evening. High temperatures a little bit above average. Alan will be back with his guests right after this. Stick around.
Florida's coral reefs are declining. Bad news for our oceans and marine life. Fortunately, you can help, and you don't have to dive, you just have to drive. When you purchase Moat's Protect Our Reefs license plate, $25 goes directly to Moat Marine Laboratory, whose research, restoration, and conservation programs are helping this precious natural resource thrive once again. So get your Moat Protect Our Reefs license plate today. You just might hold the key to saving Florida's reefs.
We've all heard how military veterans adjusting to the civilian world may have certain issues.
30. 78.
If only everyone had this issue. No matter what challenge they face, Easter Seals is here for America's veterans.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Hurricane season is here, and so is the official Suncoast Hurricane Guide from ABC7. This essential resource arms you with vital information you need to protect your family and property when severe weather threatens the Suncoast, including how to create your readiness plan and survival kit, shelter locations, what to do with pets, and important phone numbers. Visit mysuncoast.com and download the official Suncoast Hurricane Guide from ABC7. Brought to you by Batteries Plus, the Florida Lottery, and Sarasota Glass and Mirror.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Athletic trainers help ensure the safety of high school athletes on the Suncoast, but with school budget cuts, this could mean that they will no longer be at all games treating players. And joining us to tackle the issues are ABC7's Adam Cellini, Charlie Kennedy, the chairman of the Manatee County School Board, and Eric Nason, the president of the Athletic Trainers Association of Florida. And Charlie, you were telling me at the end of the first segment that your concern, given the budgetary pressures, is that athletic trainers will be stretched out and not be able to be in all places at all times.
Correct. From my conversations with two of our athletic trainers in Manatee County, they are going to be required to cover 2 school sites at the same time. Now, the school sites would be geographically close together, but you could see where there is the potential for a safety issue. As I said to Adam when we talked last week, this is going to be one of these kind of cost-cutting measures that we're going to have to keep an eye on and potentially come back and revisit.
Eric, what are the ramifications of that?
Well, I mean, it's a huge ramification. It's something that we don't want to put our athletes at risk. You know, a recent study said that 62% of our injuries to our student athletes are actually occurring during practices, not even during main competition. And so the concern is when we start cutting athletic trainers, we're probably just focusing on the competition itself for our primary coverage, and we're missing out on the 4 or 5 practices during the week. It's a big concern. We need to, as athletic trainers, and the National Athletic Trainers Association, along with the Athletic Trainers Association of Florida, the gold standard is to have 1 full-time athletic trainer being on site for all practices and all games. Now, a lot of schools have them teaching classes, and then stipend in order to stay and provide the athletic training services. But as your guests are saying, it's stringing out our athletic trainers too thin. It's putting a large demand on them. They're putting large hours, and they're putting themselves at risk just from missing out on athletes' injuries and having to deal with the responsibility of the academic side.
You know, people may not know this, but Adam Cellini was a star baseball player in high school and in college.
Not exactly true, but all right.
As an athlete, what did you need from the trainers? What did you get from these trainers?
Well, I mean, you know, I played baseball, and if you're a trainer, you may laugh at this. You know, we're very delicate. The baseball players, you always need the extreme care before every practice on your arm. Everything hurts, and if it hurts, you can't go do anything. But really, I mean, keeping your arm in shape was always the biggest thing as a baseball player. So you're in the training room every single day, with ice, heat, stem, stuff on your shoulder, your elbow, massages, anything you can do to sort of feel good that day and continue feeling good. And it's injury prevention. It's all prehab. It's you really are putting kind of money in the bank to make sure that you don't get injured on the long term. Not necessarily high school, but at the college level, you're playing 50 games, so you have to make that stretch.
And Charlie, you are also the cross country coach in Manatee.
Manatee High School.
So, and you pointed out to me that cross-country season actually starts a week before school. Correct. We are dealing with really high temperatures where, keeping kids hydrated is the name of the game at this point of the year. Are you concerned that there are enough, athletic trainers available for all the schools in Manatee County and elsewhere?
Well, there's, to Mr. Nason's point that, the gold standard would be to have a trainer at every practice, every day. At a school site, on practice days, you on your campus, you may have three or four sports practicing at the same time. Personally, at Manatee High, when I was a cross-country coach, we practiced off-site at GT Bray Park. And it was just me and the girls coach, Rayanne. And, you know, we had some basic first aid training, but doing, like Adam's talking about prehab, I think that's a good word for it, especially with runners who are doing 8 to 10 miles. We've got to do stretching, treatment of injuries that happened previously, and then you've got to get into, you know, making sure you have the hydration, you know, 20, 25 gallons of water. There's really, especially in the Florida heat, you know, cross country to me, having previously been a basketball coach and not really having seen that world, you know, being out there in 100-degree weather after school there should be a trainer or a student trainer on site.
And Eric, we're going into high school football season in just a couple of weeks, so you're dealing with very large rosters. I would imagine that even in the best case scenario, athletic trainers county to county are stretched thin right now.
Well, they are. This is the busiest time of year. They're putting in 40, 60 plus hours a week, and that's not counting any academic responsibilities that they may have. As we're noting here, that the importance of injury or the athletic trainer on site is not just injury care on the site when we're in competition, but it's the care and prevention of an injury. It's preparing that athlete season long. And one big thing right now in the preseason element of training is heat illness and understanding to recognize these musculoskeletal injuries and injuries such as concussion, which is really big right now because it's going misdiagnosed, it's going undiagnosed. It's athletic trainers, if they're there for the practices, they can follow through a continuity of care with these athletes after possible sustained injuries in competition. Going into the football season, this is the pinnacle of athletic training. It's where we educate parents, educate coaches, educate the athletes, and really prepare them for the upcoming season. We build that relationship with the athlete, and that's so crucial.
Charlie, I'm wondering if this is going to get down to, as happens so often in terms of you know, school issues at the public schools, that those counties that are in better financial shape or are going to be able to offer more in terms of having athletic trainers on hand, and other counties that are having more budgetary problems, those kids are going to be put in a more difficult situation than other kids.
Yeah, and as I can only speak for I can't even speak for Manatee County. I can speak for myself. But as, you know, a policymaker and, you know, the budget watcher, student safety it is for Manatee County. It should be for other districts. The #1 priority. So if you're going to cut somewhere, and all of us have to make cuts this year based on House Bill 7069, if you have to make cuts, anything involving student safety is sacrosanct. That does not get touched.
Adam, there are some school districts that what are the differences in terms of how school districts have gone out there and found athletic trainers and contracted with different companies?
It seems like a lot of districts do, you know, the request for proposal route. You put out the RFP and you see what comes back, and I've never been involved in one of those, but I've certainly watched, you know, several go through, and you're always looking for somebody to come back with the lowest number. I think that's a big part of it. So it is a number on a page at that point, and you know, whenever it is, I'm sure it's easier to kind of make those cuts. You know, luckily Charlie has a sports background to an extent and understands what happens there. But I think just from reading what some superintendents around the state say about it, they compare it to the teachers. They almost put the two on the same level, like they have to choose between teachers and trainers. And I don't know if that's necessarily what has to happen, but I think that's a perspective that some superintendents, some educational leaders in the state have on this issue.
All right, we have to take another quick break, and we'll come back with final thoughts when we return.
Describe a battery or bulb, and Batteries Plus bulbs will have it. Tell us what's broken on your smartphone, and we'll fix it.
I need a new battery for my phone.
And a new screen.
What did you do?
Visit batteriesplus.com for a store near you.
This is important news for women who were administered chemotherapy intravenously for breast cancer and then suffered permanent hair loss. Some women administered the breast cancer chemotherapy drug Taxotere have suffered from permanent hair loss on scalp, eyebrows, and eyelashes. If you suffered permanent hair loss after chemotherapy for breast cancer, call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now to find out if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
No theater lover's bucket list is complete without the classic black comedy Arsenic and Old Lace. Two adorable old ladies who just happen to poison their tenants and bury them in their basement. Fun and farcical, this hilarious play is heating up the summer at the Players Center from August 9th through the 20th. Call 365-2494 or visit us at theplayers.org. You'll die laughing when you see Arsenic and Old Lace.
A decade of war has taken an unprecedented toll on our men and women in uniform.
Hundreds of thousands of our veterans are suffering from the trauma of war.
At Justice for Vets, we believe that every veteran should have the opportunity for treatment and restoration.
Get involved and go to justiceforvets.org.
Help put treatment within reach of veterans in crisis.
Veterans fought for our freedom. Now it's our turn to fight for theirs.
Are you a food lover, restaurant goer, or home cook? Then check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, and helpful step-by-step videos. And you'll love the restaurant guide with direct links to your favorite Suncoast eateries. Whether you're cooking in or dining out, whet your appetite with tasty tips from Chef Judy at mysuncoast.com/dining. ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you weeknights at 5.
School budget cuts can impact the safety of student athletes, and our guests are joining us right now for final thoughts. So, Eric, for those of us who are watching this right now, and some people, their kids are out of the house and they really don't understand how critical it is for folks like yourself to be on the field, what would you tell them right now?
Well, they wouldn't allow you to drive a car in Florida without having insurance. And most schools in this county understand, or in this state understand, the risk factor of having a sports program without an athletic trainer on the sidelines. This is not just about employing an individual, but it's creating a culture for safety and health for these student athletes. It's hard if you're not in athletics, and it's hard if you don't have young student athletes participating of the value of this. But I guarantee you here in the next few weeks, as football starts up, you're going to hear unfortunate stories of injuries that have occurred, and unfortunately sometimes even deaths that occur on the sporting field because of injury or something that's been undiagnosed. And a big thing, as we mentioned, is heat illness. This is a priority. And I really put a lot of responsibilities on the school districts to do the best they can. And ATAF and the National Athletic Trainers Association stand behind these school districts in helping them with legislative efforts to raise money and to raise funds and to put out some legislative efforts that would support the demand for money.
Right, Eric, I don't want to cut you off there, but I want to give Charlie a last word here because it is a liability issue.
It is a liability issue, and we are unfortunately in an environment in Florida right now where Mr. Nason used a good word. What's your priority? And our priority is not in public education right now. And I think if people, if your viewers would look at not just the panacea of everything that covers education, but if you think about it as student safety, and then look at your elected officials and say, what is your priority? In a time when Florida is going through an economic recovery and boom, we are decreasing funding to public education. So
we will have to leave it there.
Fair enough.
Thank you all for joining us. But before we go, we want to share what some of our viewers are saying about Friday's show. President Trump went on a 17-day vacation starting on Friday. But before he left, he had an eventful week. Robert Mueller convened the federal grand jury to look into any ties between the Trump campaign and Russia. General Kelly took over as White House Chief of Staff, and Anthony Scaramucci left as White House Communications Director after just 11 days on the job. Here is what some of you are saying about that. Sandy says, quote, when is he going to focus on the country? He seems to be busy hiring and firing people. We have some serious problems going on in the world. Where's his focus? End quote. Kelly goes on to say he deserves time off as he has accomplished more in 6 months than any other president. Americans are sick and tired of the Russia story. If they want a good story, focus on the corruption of HRC. That's Hillary Clinton. Together we stand together and we will make America great again, end quote. And finally, Cindy says, quote, I just hope Trump doesn't take off his shirt for a photo op like on vacation like Putin did. Other than that, I wish Trump a good vacay. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions. They're on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. I want to thank our guests for being here tonight, Adam Cellini, Charlie Kennedy, the chairman of the Manatee County School Board, and Eric Nason, the president of the Athletic Trainers Association of Florida, all joining us tonight. And when we return, we'll have a final look at your weather plus an update on the growing tensions between the U.S. and North Korea. More on that coming up in your primetime headlines right after this break.
Attention blood thinner users. Thousands of blood thinner users may have been exposed to serious risk by these dangerous medications. If you or a loved one took Xarelto or Pradaxa and suffered serious internal bleeding, call right now. Call Nightline Legal to speak with an experienced attorney for a free consultation. If we don't win, there is no fee. There are time deadlines to file a claim, so don't wait. Call right now.
Call 1-800-554-3987. Again, that's 1-800-554-3987.
ABC7, My Suncoast News. We're here for you. Watch My Suncoast News wherever you are. On our live stream, on our newly redesigned MySuncoast.com, and a brand new ABC7 My Suncoast app, powered by the Eye Associates, providing sight for life, featuring traffic maps and live radar, and dining with recipes and all the hottest Suncoast restaurants. Visit MySuncoast.com and click on the mobile tab to download the ABC7 My Suncoast app for iOS and Android. Have you ever wondered what it's like to save a life? Find out by donating platelets at Suncoast Blood Bank.
I'm Haley Wilgus, ABC7. Platelets aid in the clotting process and are vital in the treatment of cancer and surgical patients, trauma victims, and critically ill newborns. It's tough to keep enough on the shelves because they only last 5 days. To donate, call this number or visit scbb.org and you can help save a life.
ABC7 congratulates Suncoast Blood Bank on 65 years of serving our community.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Well, there's some good that comes from these storms. It cools things down and sometimes produces a rainbow. In this case, a double one. Produced by actually right there from the rain being refracted and reflected, and actually did it twice. So it caused that double rainbow from Venice. Barbara sending this one in. Scaramuzzo. And you can see there it is. There's the main one. And then the second one is right here. It's always reverse colors, too, when you see these things. Kind of interesting once in a while to catch those. Van Wezel webcam showing today the skies were sunny at 3 o'clock. And then as we move through time, you can see the clouds start to come in from the south there. And they really start to increase, producing some moderate to heavy rainfall, cooling things down some 10 to 15 degrees. And then we have another round developing, some showers and a few isolated thunderstorms developing, pushing off to the northwest. The first round, there it is, moving through, producing some heavy rainfall, then kind of falling apart. And then the second one moved through Venice, and now it is moving through Osprey and also off into the Gulf of Mexico. Siesta Key getting some rainfall, pretty heavy to moderate rain. Not a lot of lightning, but there's still occasional lightning strike. All it takes is one. Remember that. We still have some bolts around and some positively charged bolts, too, at that, right near the area beaches. Will it hold on through downtown Sarasota and Lido? Looks like it has a chance. This one, too, right behind it. So it's all moving to the northwest. Some pretty impressive rainfall amounts in some isolated areas, up to 2 inches right there along I-75 and just to the northwest of Northport. Heat index has cooled some 17 degrees as a result of that storm moving through. Dew point is now down to 70, or up to 76, I should say. 86 in Jacksonville, 87 in Orlando, 89 now in Miami, Key West at 83. We talked about this earlier. This is the 6th named storm of the season, and NOAA has upped its forecast now for the season. Based on what's happened and what's happening, the Atlantic water temperature very warm now, and so is the Caribbean. And we saw this flare up fairly quickly. By the way, the National Weather Service was giving this only about a 20% chance of developing. That was back Thursday in 5 days. Well, it's 5 days and it's developed. And you can see it pushing off toward the Yucatan Peninsula. Some very heavy rainfall and winds as high as 60 miles an hour. moving to the northwest fairly rapidly. And there's the forecast. You can see this is the area that is under the tropical storm warning right now. It heads into the Bay of Campeche late tomorrow night and Wednesday morning and redevelops into a Category 1 hurricane. Or I should say that'll be the first time it'll be a hurricane with winds up to 75 to near 80 miles an hour. And it looks like it's heading for an area that's going to cause all sorts of problems with mudslides and flash flooding throughout that region. Now this one, the National Hurricane Center last week on Thursday gave it about an 80% chance developing. That's back down now to a 0% over the next 2 days and a 20% chance over the next 5 days. It looks like it's going to travel basically to the northwest. Here we are right here, and it looks like if it were to develop, it would more than likely miss us to the east of the state. We'll see how it plays out, though, through time over the next 5 days. Well, for boaters, winds will be rather light, southeast turning to the southwest at 10 knots and a light chop out there. The water temperature 91 degrees. Tides upcoming. Low tide at 8:39, another one at 7:29 tomorrow, sunset at 8:14. Evening storms through about 9, 10 o'clock, and then partly cloudy otherwise outside of the stormy area. Partly cloudy tomorrow. Good chance for those afternoon storms to come back. And the extended forecast is calling for anywhere from a 40 to 50% chance for rain right through the weekend and beyond. Al will be back with primetime headlines right after this.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
I heard about the Dotoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the Dotoli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
Just go do it. Go do it. If you're not in control, then who is? Live above the influence.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View. I'm Stephanie Roberts. On Suncoast View, we talked to the new Booker High School wrestling coach about a woman teaching young men, plus a preview of the producers and Yoders in the kitchen. Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View.
This is important news for women who were administered chemotherapy intravenously for breast cancer and then suffered permanent hair loss. The chemotherapy drug Taxotere has been linked to permanent alopecia or permanent hair loss. Some women administered the breast cancer chemotherapy drug Taxotere have suffered from permanent hair loss on scalp, eyebrows, and eyelashes. The FDA has urged doctors and the manufacturer to warn women administered Taxotere of the risk of permanent hair loss. If you or a loved one were administered chemotherapy intravenously for breast cancer and suffered permanent hair loss, you may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you suffered permanent hair loss after chemotherapy for breast cancer, call the law offices of Davis & Crump at the number below right now to find out if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Checking our primetime headlines, more on the rising tensions between the U.S. and North Korea. The United Nations agreeing on crippling new sanctions, and overnight North Korea reacting, vowing revenge against the U.S. ABC's Emily Rao has the latest from Washington.
North Koreans gathering in the street to see the regime's response to new sanctions, the toughest ever passed by the United Nations against Pyongyang, and with a unanimous vote. The country promising to reciprocate 1,000-fold for what it called America's villainous actions against our country and people, warning that if the U.S. thinks it will be safe because it is across an ocean, there is no bigger misunderstanding than that.
These sanctions will cut deep, and in doing so will give the North Korean leadership a taste of the deprivation they have chosen to inflict on the North Korean people.
The UN Security Council's sanctions against North Korea are expected to cost the regime nearly $1 billion a year. The unprecedented move spurred by unnerving progress from North Korea's nuclear and missile development efforts. Kim Jong-un conducting his furthest intercontinental ballistic missile launch just 9 days ago. President Trump tweeting he's very happy and impressed with the sanctions vote as Secretary of State Rex Tillerson travels the region to ensure all parties, especially China, stick to the sanctions.
The best signal that North Korea could give us that they're prepared to talk would be to stop these missile launches.
Tillerson says if the missile tests stop, the U.S. would be open to direct talks with North Korea, their latest provocative launch, the 11th test since President Trump took office. Emily Rao, ABC News, Washington.
Police in Missouri are searching for a man they say shot and killed a police officer. Officer Gary Michael was making a traffic stop Sunday when the suspect pulled out a gun and opened fire. 39-year-old Ian McCarthy is being identified as the suspect. Michael was able to return fire, but it is unclear if the driver was hit. The suspect apparently drove away, then his car crashed nearby and ran away. Checkpoints up across the area. Officer Michael had been with the department for less than a year. The city of Chicago plans to file a federal lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Justice. The suit is over the federal government's plan to withhold public safety money from so-called sanctuary cities. Attorney General Jeff Sessions says federal funding to local police would be tied to immigration enforcement. Sessions announced last week that federal grants for local police would be tied to federal immigration officials. Cities are being asked to give authorities access to police facilities, provide 48 hours notice to an arrestee's release. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel wants to see the police and the community work together. Chicago officials say the requirements would violate the city's Welcoming City Ordinance, which specifically bans such practices.
Our police department are part of a neighborhood, part of a community that is built on the premise of trust between the residents and the police department. It's not, the police department is a part of the fabric of makes a community safe, and we want people to come forward to work with the police department, not to fear them.
Chicago receives just over $3 million a year in federal grant money for the police department. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night.